When most of us go out to pick a new car, we wouldn't just look at a shiny cherry red paint job and say, I'll take it, without ever bothering to look under the hood.
Right. Yeah. You really need to understand the machinery. I mean,
Hmm.
you'd want to know if you're getting a massive V8 engine that needs constant maintenance or, maybe a hybrid built for slow, steady city driving.
Exactly. The exterior is just metal and paint, but the engine dictates the entire experience.
Absolutely.
But millions of people do the equivalent of buying that shiny red car every single year when they adopt a feline companion. They walk into a shelter, see a striking coat color or um, a beautiful pattern, and just make a decade-plus commitment based purely on aesthetics.
Yeah, they pick the paint job without ever looking at the biological engine.
It's wild. And according to our sources today, which we pulled from researchers and veterinary professionals over at the Cats Insider channel, picking a cat by its looks is just a fast track to misunderstanding and, well, frustration.
It really is.
So our mission today, we are going to unpack how a cat's coat color isn't just fur deep. It's actually a scientifically backed predictor of behavior, health risks, and emotional needs.
Oh, totally.
We're pulling directly from data, including studies from UC Davis and the Journal of Applied Animal Welfare Science, to show you what you are actually signing up for when you choose a specific color.
And if we look at the shifting DNA helixes morphing into feline silhouettes behind me today, it really gets to the core of this discussion. We have to look past surface aesthetics.
Right.
We have to understand the fundamental biology driving these animals, because if we ignore the genetic realities tied to these coat colors, we're basically setting these cats and ourselves up to fail.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, let's start by unpacking the cats that aggressively and openly tell you exactly who they are from day one. I'm talking about the loud extremes, the oranges, the calicos, and the tortoiseshells.
What? Yes, the loud ones.
Right. We have this pervasive cultural image of the lazy, warm, friendly ginger cat. I mean, millions of owners choose them for that specific vibe.
Right.
But what does the actual data say about them?
Well, the UC Davis studies reveal a picture that catches a lot of adopters off guard, actually. Orange cats, particularly the males, they consistently score significantly higher in aggression compared to other coat colors.
Wait, really? Higher in aggression?
Yeah, and this isn't just playful swatting during a game. The data points to actual biting, scratching, and dominance-driven behavior.
So the friendly Garfield stereotype is essentially just a myth.
Well, not entirely, because that dominance comes packaged with a very specific behavioral flip side. Orange cats are documented to form intense one-person bonds.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they follow their chosen human from room to room, they demand undivided attention, and they become genuinely distressed if separated. They operate much closer to a dog's social paradigm, honestly.
Wow, okay. Which means they could be like a fantastic companion for a single owner living alone, but potentially a massive risk if you drop them into a chaotic house with small children or a bunch of other pets.
Exactly. It's all about the environment.
But if orange cats are dominant, how do the calicos compare? Because they have a reputation all their own.
They definitely do. And the UC Davis researchers found that calicos score the highest in aggression toward humans out of all the coat colors studied.
Highest.
The highest. Hissing, swatting, resistance to handling, they top the charts across the board. And a really key detail here is that almost all calicos are female.
Okay, let's unpack this, because people often say female cats are just moodier, right?
Yeah.
But there's actual genetic machinery driving this, isn't there?
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the underlying genetic mechanism. The calico coloring is the result of X chromosome inactivation.
Right.
So female mammals have two X chromosomes. To prevent double dosing of genetic information, each cell randomly shuts down one of those X chromosomes during embryonic development.
Okay, I'm following.
In cats, the gene for fur color is located on that X chromosome. So in one patch of skin, the orange chromosome stays active, and in another patch, the black chromosome stays active.
Oh, wow. So their skin is essentially a genetic mosaic.
Yes, exactly. And researchers theorize that this complex fluctuating genetic expression doesn't just stop at the skin level.
What do you mean?
Well, the exact same embryonic cells, the neural crest cells, that determine pigmentation, they are also responsible for forming parts of the nervous system.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. So that fragmented mosaic expression in their fur likely mirrors a fragmented, highly reactive neurological wiring in their brain.
Man, it's like having two different operating systems trying to run the same computer at the exact same time. It's no wonder they are reactive.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the tortoiseshell cats. which seem to be calicos operating at maximum volume. There is a reason the veterinary term tortitude even exists.
Oh, tortitude is very real. Tortoiseshells exhibit the highest rates of unpredictable behavior among all the profiles studied. While calicos are consistently assertive, Tories are characterized by rapid, unpredictable mood shifts.
It's the classic scenario where the cat is purring in your lap, leaning into your hand, and a second later, they bite you and sprint out of the room.
Yes, exactly that.
It's like dating someone who demands your undivided affection. But the moment you provide it, they pick a fight just to test the boundaries. First-time owners constantly post on forums asking if their tortoiseshell is, like, broken or malicious.
And the thing is, they aren't broken at all. This intensity is a highly evolved communication style.
Really?
Yeah, these are opinionated cats. They know what they want, they know their limits, and their neurological wiring basically compels them to enforce those limits immediately.
So they're just setting boundaries.
Exactly. When an owner understands the biology behind it, they can respect those boundaries rather than forcing physical affection. Experienced owners who learn to read those really subtle body language cues often have highly rewarding relationships with these cats.
So while those cats basically shout their boundaries at us, another group of cats is entirely misjudged by humans before they even open their mouths. We have cats facing a battle of bias versus biology, and I mean the black cats and the white cats.
Oh, this is such a fascinating area.
Right. Starting with black cats, shelter statistics worldwide show they're the most frequently returned animals. Adopters take them home and just return them within weeks. What is driving that phenomenon?
Well, research published in the Journal of Applied Animal Welfare Science points to mismatched expectations.
How so?
The data shows potential adopters consistently rate black cats as less friendly and more mysterious before they even interact with them.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because if people bring that bias into the shelter, they're bringing it into their living rooms too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If an owner expects a black cat to be aloof and distant, they likely interact with it way less enthusiastically. Are humans essentially creating a self-fulfilling prophecy here?
The data suggests exactly that. Owners project a personality onto the animal based purely on its melanin. The owner acts distant, the cat mirrors that distance, and the owner feels validated in their initial bias.
That is so sad.
It really is. The reality is that when black cats are raised in stable, affectionate environments, their sociability scores are practically indistinguishable from any other coat color.
And from a biological standpoint, isn't that melanin actually providing a massive hidden advantage?
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, black cats are remarkably robust machines. The specific gene mutation responsible for melanism, for that solid black coat, belongs to the same family of genes involved in the immune system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, evolutionary biologists have found that this mutation provides a stronger immune response and a lower risk of certain infectious diseases, including feline immunodeficiency virus.
So humans see an unlucky or mysterious animal, but biologically you are looking at a highly sociable, physically resilient companion.
Exactly.
Then we flip the color wheel entirely and look at the white cats. They have that pristine, angelic look that just drives massive adoptions. People want a perfectly clean, serene creature in their home.
Right.
But there is a massive biological catch hidden beneath that white fur, isn't there?
There is, and it is a profound tragedy of human aesthetics, honestly. People adopt white cats for that perfect angelic look, completely unaware of the structural biology going on underneath.
Right.
Studies show that up to 85% of white cats with two blue eyes carry congenital deafness in one or both ears.
85%. That is a staggering majority of the population. But wait, how does the color of the fur and the eyes dictate whether the animal can hear? That sounds like three completely unrelated systems to me.
You'd think so, but it all comes down to stem cells. During early embryonic development, a specific type of stem cell called a melanoblast migrates through the body. These cells eventually become melanocytes, which produce pigment.
Right, pigment for color.
Exactly. But a genetic mutation in white cats suppresses these stem cells. So no pigment reaches the fur, making it white. No pigment reaches the eyes, leaving them blue.
Okay, that makes sense for the look.
But crucially, those exact same stem cells are required to create the stria vascularis. Those are the tiny, vibrating hair cells inside the inner ear that process sound waves.
Oh, wow. So the gene that makes them look like a pristine angel also physically stops their inner ear from forming.
Yes. The vast majority of these cats are entirely sensory deprived. They cannot hear predators, traffic, or, an owner walking up behind them.
Which totally explains the behavioral fallout. If a cat can't hear you approach, it startles. And a startled cat defaults to defensive aggression.
Exactly.
Owners think they adopted a mean or unstable cat when in reality they adopted a disabled animal and dropped it into a chaotic environment.
It's tragic, really. Deaf white cats require an entirely different communication system built on touch, floor vibrations, and distinct visual cues.
Right.
They really must be kept indoors to survive. It's a serious physical requirement, but humans just see the aesthetic and completely ignore the engine.
Well, while white cats deal with a physical barrier to the world, the next group of cats faces a purely emotional barrier. I'm talking about the silent sufferers, the gray and the cream cats.
Ah, yes, the quiet ones.
Their coats actively mask their deep emotional and physical vulnerabilities. Let's look at the gray or blue cats first. Adopters often gravitate toward them because they look ordinary, expecting an easy, low-maintenance pet.
And that assumption is incredibly dangerous. Behaviorists describe the gray coat profile as highly sensitive, intuitive, and emotionally porous.
Emotionally porous, I like that.
Yeah, they literally absorb the stress of their environment. They attach deeply to a primary caregiver, but their tolerance for environmental change is remarkably low.
They sound like the feline equivalent of a highly sensitive introvert. Like, if you have a roommate who completely spirals into an anxiety attack just because you changed the brand of coffee in the kitchen cabinet, you understand the gray cat.
That's a perfect analogy, honestly.
Loud environments, new people coming over, or even rearranging the living room furniture can send them into visible distress. And how does that emotional sensitivity manifest biologically?
Well, we see stress-related health issues spike in these sensitive coat profiles. When a cat experiences chronic anxiety, its sympathetic nervous system goes into overdrive, elevating cortisol levels.
Okay.
And this manifests physically. We see overgrooming to the point of creating bald spots, sudden appetite loss, and idiopathic cystitis, which is severe bladder inflammation triggered entirely by stress.
Oh, poor things.
Yeah, a gray cat in a loud, chaotic household will simply internalize that anxiety until its body physically breaks down.
Then we have the cream, or ivory cats, which look like the relaxed counterpart to the gray cat. They are rare natural coat colors, mostly found in specific breeds like the British Shorthair or the Ragdoll or Persian.
Right.
The behavioral data shows they score really high in docility and low in territorial aggression. They seem like the perfect, easygoing pet.
They do seem that way, but there is a massive flashing warning sign attached to them. Their calm exterior masks a deeply passive nature. Owners routinely misread that passivity as contentment.
This raises an important question, though. How do you care for a pet that actively hides its pain? Like, if a cream cat is sick, how does an owner even know?
It's tough. It requires proactive hypervigilance. A cream cat lacks the behavioral pathways to express distress the way an orange or a tabby might.
So they don't cry out.
No, if they're sick or stressed, they will not yowl, they won't scratch the furniture or act out, they simply withdraw. They just go quiet. And owners often miss fatal health issues because they operate under the false assumption that silence means peace. You cannot rely on behavioral cues with a cream cat. You have to monitor their weight, track their litter box habits meticulously, and schedule preemptive vet checks.
It's a sobering reality. You think you have an easy cat, but you actually have a cat that doesn't even know how to ask for help.
Well, exactly.
So we are looking at cats that hide their pain. But let's shift to the extroverted deceivers. The cats we see every day but deeply underestimate. The tabbies and the tuxedos.
Oh, the extroverts.
Let's start with tabbies. Basically, the most common coat pattern on the planet. And we should note, the base color still matters, right? Like brown tabbies adapt differently than orange tabbies. But the tabby pattern itself carries a universal trait.
Yeah, because the tabby pattern is so ubiquitous, owners assume the cat has an average, middle-of-the-road personality.
Like just a normal cat.
Exactly. But in reality, the tabby genetics are tied very closely to their wildcat ancestors. They possess a highly active problem-solving cortex and a massive prey drive.
Wow, okay. So tabbies are sharp, they test boundaries, and because of that high prey drive, they get bored fast. So what does this all mean for an owner?
Well, it means an understimulated tabby cat is basically a bored, gifted child locked inside a china shop.
Oh no, that sounds like a disaster.
It is. If you don't give their brain a complex puzzle to solve, they will invent their own destructive entertainment.
And that manifests as what? The relentless midnight zoomies, the knocked over water glasses, and the shredded furniture.
Yep, all of it.
Yeah.
And that isn't a cat misbehaving out of spite. That is a highly intelligent predator signaling that its brain is starved for stimulation.
Fascinating.
Feline enrichment studies show these cats require intense, daily interactive play that mimics hunting sequences just to keep their neurological needs met.
So tabbies hide a fierce intellect behind an everyday face. But the tuxedo cat, the black and white bicolor, hides something else entirely.
They really do.
They have a massive fan base.
Yeah.
The data ranks them among the most visibly expressive, highly social, and trainable domestic cats. They bond well, they tolerate kids. I mean, they sound like the ultimate companion.
They do, but there's a real paradox with the tuxedo cat. Their high sociality means their dopamine regulation depends heavily on interactive bonding.
Okay, so high sociality means high social needs.
Exactly. But because they are perceived as easy, dog-like companions that don't need to be walked, they are frequently adopted by busy professionals who want an easy pet.
Oh, I see the trap here. It's a lifestyle mismatch. A busy owner wants a cat that greets them at the door, but they leave it alone in an empty apartment for 10 hours a day.
Precisely. You cannot isolate a codependent tuxedo cat. When deprived of social interaction, their mental health deteriorates incredibly fast.
What happens?
They develop severe separation anxiety, leading to excessive vocalization where they basically scream at the walls, plus destructive chewing and attention-seeking aggression. Yeah, by choosing a tuxedo for convenience, the busy professional accidentally selects a cat that requires an immense amount of dedicated interactive presence just to thrive.
Okay, so if the standard patterns, the tabbies and the tuxedos, require such specific lifestyle matching, what happens when we look at the genetic wild cards? The multicolored coats, the cats that just don't fit into any standard category.
Oh, the genetics here are fascinating. We can look at the color point cats first, like the Siamese patterns.
Right.
Their coat is actually caused by a form of temperature-sensitive albinism, where the cooler parts of their body produce pigment while the warmer core stays light.
Oh, that's why their ears and paws are dark.
Exactly. And behaviorally, they are highly documented. They are vocal, demanding, intelligent, and emotionally dependent. Studies show color points develop anxiety-based disorders at really high rates if their cognitive needs aren't met.
Then there are the smoke-coated cats, right? Where their fur looks solid black or gray, but when they move, you see a stark white undercoat.
Yes. They are a bit less studied, but shelter data describes them as highly alert and reactive to their environment and very prone to stress in unstable homes.
But the ultimate wild card has to be the chimera cat. These are the cats with two distinct facial colorations, like a straight line down the middle of their face, maybe black on one side and orange on the other.
Yeah, the biology of a chimera is startling. They are the result of two separate embryos fusing together in the womb.
Wait, really?
Yes, the cat literally has two different sets of DNA operating inside a single body.
You literally have two genetic blueprints expressing themselves simultaneously. Is there any way to predict the behavioral output of that? Like, is adopting a chimera cat basically rolling a 20-sided genetic die?
It really is zero predictability because all the baseline metrics we use to evaluate feline behavior just fall apart. The rule of thumb for adopters is that the more visually complex the genetic expression on the outside, the more unpredictable the neurological wiring is on the inside. Humans are drawn to aesthetic rarity. We want the unique-looking pet. But in the feline world, rarity correlates heavily with profound behavioral unpredictability.
Which brings us to the core realization of today's deep dive. Choosing a cat by its color is not just picking a paint swatch. You are selecting a distinct psychological and biological profile.
Absolutely.
Whether it is the dominant loyalty of the orange cat, the sensory barriers of the deaf white cat, the internalized anxiety of the gray cat, or the intense codependency of the tuxedo.
Right.
So, I want to turn this over to you listening right now. What stands out to you in all this data? Does your lifestyle match the engine you are trying to bring home? Are you running a quiet, calm household ready to support a sensitive gray cat? Or is your home chaotic and active, requiring the robust resilience of a tuxedo?
And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've explored the hard science showing how coat genetics dictate feline neurology and health. But we have to acknowledge that humans have selectively bred these specific coat patterns for thousands of years, primarily just because we found them visually pleasing.
Right, because we liked how they looked.
Exactly. So if we know that prioritizing an all-white coat suppresses the stem cells needed for hearing, or that breeding for the tortoiseshell pattern basically guarantees a highly reactive nervous system, we have to ask ourselves a difficult question.
What's that?
To what extent are we, as humans, responsible for the anxiety, the aggression, and the physical vulnerabilities we've accidentally hardwired into our closest companions.
Man, that fundamentally changes how you look at the shiny paint job. It doesn't matter how beautiful the car looks in the driveway if the engine isn't built for the road you're taking it on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.